Well now, Mr. Blake, on a first visit to Dublin and to the Dublin Horse Show, crowded with people like this, I suppose all sorts of new impressions are flooding in on you.
Well, yes, hundreds. I mean, my qualifications for being here really are that I've never been to Dublin before and that I don't know anything about horses. I think those are the essential things. So I'm just I'm not here to cover it as a horse show for horse show enthusiasts. It's just a completely open sort of brief so that I can creep about like a spy behind the scenes, more or less, and I can draw the people, I can draw the horses, I can draw anything I like. It's just as it strikes me. I've got a completely open mind about it. I had no idea what it's going to be like.
But the people mainly are the
Well, I think so. I mean, it's sort of people that I'm professionally interested in rather than horses. I pretend I'm drawing the horses, but really I'm drawing the people. Yeah.
My sentiments exactly. Well, now you presumably have some sort of pictorial shorthand that helps you to trap these impressions immediately for future reference.
Yes, I just try and draw as much as I can. I start drawing, but nobody keeps still because I don't want to say I'm going to make a picture of you. Do you mind stopping? I just want to draw things, and later on. I'll go through my sketchbook and I'll draw from these things. Sometimes two people may get mixed up, but I hope there'll be a lot of spirit of Dublin Horse Show in it, even though they may not be individual people.
This one looks pretty stark to me.
Yes, well, it's not a drawing in its own right, but they're business notes really. I mean, what I want there's a nice little bit of plaiting in the tail and the way that label fits on the back, with a little sort of bow that comes down the back of her neck there, and this little bouquet, and I can use these things together later on, you see, so when I go through it, that's just a bit of, what a big hat she got on. I can sew these things together later on, you see, because if you don't actually make the effort to put them down on the paper, you find you don't remember how it went. So this is all, there's a bowler hat there, those things. That general sort of scramble there is a scene along beside the paddock. I'll be able to put people on those seats that I want to put on later on, you see. But that gives me the general layout of the thing. It's just a very little tiny bit, but that. And there's a bit of the background that you can see.
Yes.
It's continued over. There's a lad with a very nice waistcoat there, which I thought I couldn't miss. And a little girl with a very little boy and a very little horse, which will fit in nicely somewhere, I think. That's a bit more background. You can see on there, I've put some notes on as well. I may go into colour, I think.
Yes.
So I've got a few notes. But I have to make it up from these bits later on,
yes.
Putting in as much as I can remember as well of the scene. Those are the jumps as well there, with colour notes as well.
Well, this is going to be an entirely pictorial piece of reportage. You have to convey the entire story in pictures.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It's as though I were illiterate, really.
Yes.
I'm just a drawing. It's just for drawing.
Wordsworth said that poetry was emotion recollected in tranquility, and I suppose to a certain extent the same is true of art. Have you any idea now how this all will seem to you when you get down to the actual work of making these pictures?
Yes, I think I have, because I've got these shorthand notes which you've seen, but a lot of it's what I'm carrying in my head, and I think that's probably a sort of impression of the immense variety of the thing, and also a kind of contrast between the actual the formal sort of front, the dressing up and the of the jumping itself, and those extraordinary little jumps that they go over that made of toy bricks and those little trees and things, which are not, couldn't be real at all, and the backstage, as it were, of the stables, which are immensely real,
yes.
and very beautiful.
And of course, there's that grim earnestness over in the veterinary paddock where they're really sizing up the horse flesh. Yes.
And this sort of contrast, of people in trilbies and people with their hair in nets and wearing top hats and so on. That sort of strange kind of mixture of life is the thing that I think is most interesting for me about it.
And quite bizarre, I suppose, from a visitor's point of view.
Oh, yes. Splendid, from that point of view.